Another story, this one involving a private prison. So I'm not sure if people are, where there's sort of federal prisons, there's county, state prisons, and then there are private prisons, and they operate like these large conglomerate organizations. They actually, if you look into records, they have very, very strong lobbyists across the country that lobby on their behalf to the federal government as well. But anyway, this case, I was particularly dumbfounded by that a private prison, actually the nation's largest private prison corporation in Arizona, participated in a drug raid in the public school system in Arizona.
What? What do you mean?
So there was a drug raid at a school. 3 students were arrested for marijuana possession.
Because marijuana is so dangerous.
Right. And this was back in October at a high school in Arizona. And participating in the drug raid, besides, the officers of that particular area, were officers from the private prison.
Was there a reason why that was necessary?
Their response for this for-profit prison participating in a high school drug sweep is, the representatives there in Arizona say, we work pretty closely with all surrounding agencies, whatever kind of law enforcement they are, be they police, immigration, naturalization, or prison systems, is pretty regular. Why would a private prison be involved in a drug raid in a public school?
I'm not sure, but I mean, I'm not sure that is that just a terrible thing? I mean,
well, I mean, some people are arguing sort of. I know we've talked about on the show before. The Justice Department right now is suing Mississippi. This is another state, but suing Mississippi about their school to prison pipeline. That they have really clear ways that the state government and the public education system is basically kids that are identified or labeled as troublemakers in school are being targeted and eventually wind up in the prison system or the criminal justice system in Mississippi, right? And so having that going on, I'm sure Mississippi isn't the only state or their school system isn't the only system that's sort of doing these kinds of things. We've talked about this as a whole across the country, that why would a private prison whose job, and I guess they make their money in the more prisoners we have in our prison system, the more money we make, would be involved in a drug raid in a public school system with teenagers.
So your argument is that that they had the incentive to make sure that people were arrested, even if maybe they didn't need to be arrested.
Exactly.
Isn't this a slippery slope?
It leads to them. It leads to, like we said, this sort of school to prison pipeline. Yeah.
The ability for non-police officers to come and pluck you up off the street because you're doing something that.
See, in my mind, at first I was thinking about like maybe a small town. They don't have that big of a police station or department, and so in certain situations, if they need more manpower to reach out to that space. But I can your argument that there is an incentive. I see it off the top of my head. I would hope that we haven't reached that point where people would literally try to put people in prison more when they go. Like, it's one thing.
What? Do you not live in America?
I do.
Yeah, we like our minor offenders in prison, sir.
I do.
And not to mention that I could see maybe if this private company has a track record of, well, we want to reduce the amount of minors that are in the prison system, and sort of our giving back kind of program or something, or a scared straight thing or whatever. Not to mention that this private prison, one of the nation's largest, has serious violations across the country in the prisons that they operate. Over 157 serious security failings in their facilities. Right? They are right now being sued in Idaho that the company partnered with violent gangs And at another facility, they're being sued by the inmates because of a riot where they rioted because of poor treatment by the company. So like this, now you're partnering with a company that has a horrible track record nationally to do a drug raid in a public school.
Okay,
Doesn't make sense.
What story you just told me? You told me Wisconsin. Same. Okay, because I feel like I watch too many movies, but I'm thinking that a group of people that exists between the prisons, the police, and everyone else is just dicey. Because the cops look the other way, and they're not privy to the same rules that police officers are, and they're trying to bring people into a prison that makes them money. That doesn't even sound reasonable at all. Like I said, I may watch too many movies.
Yeah.